Welcome to the Vocal Lab podcast with your hosts Shelby Rollins and Jason Catrone, bringing you the best from the music industry. Get ready for first-class conversations packed with exclusive techniques and transformative insights, all designed to help you reach your top note. Hello, Shelby.
Hi, Jason.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah?
It's summer. It's my season.
You're just back from vacation.
Yes.
Went down to the 30As.
With all of the rest of Nashville.
I have a friend that, I don't know if I told you this the other day. I told someone, but we had a little riff. Not a riff, we just had a back and forth. It wasn't a riff at all. We had a back and forth for a couple minutes over. He had just gone. He lives over on in the Carolinas. And he was like, hey, I just got back from the 30A. I mean, you mean 30A? He's like, no, it's 30A. I'm like,
no.
Trust me, it's 30. And he's like, no, you're wrong. It's 30A.
Is this what the back and forth was about?
Yeah. I'm like,
definitely 30A.
Dude, you gotta trust me on this one.
That's
it's
so
30A.
Funny. It is 30A, friend of Jason's. But also funny that I grew up in Panama City, which is like less than an hour. How do you forget I'm a Floridian?
I don't know, because when I think of Florida, I just think real crazy.
And you're
more tan than me. And, maybe the coast of Ireland I could see.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Did you ever do Riverdance? I could have seen you doing that too. I could see you doing Riverdance.
I mean, those people are pretty talented and like fit.
Pretty,
so
yeah. They're super talented.
I'll take that as a compliment. No, I grew up in Panama City, and in the 80s and 90s, there was no the PCB. There was no 30A. Panama City, as in the Panama City beach that is often referenced in country music songs.
Yeah,
constantly. Or when I go to college.
Tragic videos.
Yeah. I don't want to turn dark, but no, I'd come back from like a weekend in college. I'd get back into my 8 a.m. Monday morning class. And this is in Tallahassee because I went to Florida State. And no, I wasn't. Locals stay away from that part of the beach. But anyway, people would be like, I'm so hungover. I was in Panama this weekend and I went to Club La Vela. And I would just be like, it's Panama City. Panama's a country. Okay? And it's called Club La Vela, not Club La Vela. I would get very irritated. But I didn't go to Club La Vela. I don't know why I cared. But
we definitely triggered something.
People talked about going to 30A here, and I'd be like, why are y'all talking? That's like a county road. What are we talking about? You want me to put a 65S sticker on my car? Because people put 30A stickers. I was very confused. And then we finally went down there, and I was like, oh, I get it. Now we love it, and we go almost every year. And but growing up between Panama City and Destin, nothing really existed. Seaside did, and the only thing Seaside was known for was where the Truman Show was filmed.
Right.
And so now it's this whole developed thing.
I think Seaside was one of the first like truly planned communities, right, where everything kind of looked the same.
Yes. Yes, it's very pretty. But
no, it's beautiful. You know, for those of you listening out there, 30A is like this little patch of Florida that is. I just say it's wealthy white people. That's why Shelby goes.
I go because it's true, right? It feels like hometown.
Well, for sure.
Because it's the same beautiful beach, the same water. I love it.
And it's basically just a bunch of people from Nashville and Franklin, Brentwood, Tennessee, Atlanta, and Birmingham.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
I said that weird.
Right? Yeah. That's just where everyone's from. It's beautiful. There's already too many people there. Like,
it's lovely.
Yeah.
And we love going there.
Well, I'm glad you had a great time because I was here just, slumming it.
Let's talk about how you slum it through life, Jason, and never get to travel anywhere. Because where did you just go? Where did you just come back from?
Spain and Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That was fun.
So hard for you.
It was hard. Yeah.
Spain is my favorite. I'm trying to move there.
Are you? Oh, we should talk Spain. We should also introduce our guest.
Yes.
Welcome the lovely Ari.
Hello,
everyone.
Hi.
Ari and I know each other from the infamous Soho House.
Yes.
And we run in the same circles over there.
Yeah.
And some things we can talk about, some things we can't.
It's like a mafia.
But Ari is an amazing makeup artist, and can't wait to dive into that today a little bit because you're our first makeup artist on the show.
Love it.
Yeah, which I think will be really fun. And you've worked with some amazing artists.
Please name drop for us when the time comes.
Yeah, so you guys are going to want to hear some of the people she's worked with and some of the fun stories that I
bet there's some really fun stories.
I mean, I feel like, because that's like, you can agree with this, hopefully. You're basically like, you're the hair salon, beauty salon, quote unquote, for the artist. You hear all the dirt.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You get all the juice. You get all
job.
the beef. Yeah. And especially like they're pissed off about something that day or something happened, you're getting it.
And when
We
you're
hear it
getting
all.
dressed, like
this
you're
is
putting
good.
on makeup, you go from no makeup to putting on makeup is in and of itself, I think, kind of this sounds weird, but like an intimate
And I tell
part of your
people-
routine
yeah.
for a woman
Yeah.
especially, but for anybody, because you go from behind closed doors, nobody sees you, to this is now how I will present myself to the world, and you're a part of that transition. So there's probably a lot of the inside thoughts that come out the mouth that you get to capture into your brain.
You need to write a tell-all one day.
A memoir.
With you and your friends when you're kind of
That's
done.
a good coffee table.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
I am writing a book right now, not
Love
about
it.
glam, but I do, as I'm working on the book and, I don't know, kind of doing spoilers, I'm trying to create something called Glam Chats, where I've been trying to be more like content focused in the makeup process, but where I am able to like cut little blurbs of the things that my clients
Yeah, I
and
love
are
that.
talking about. But it is a
love
very
that.
intimate job. I tell people all the time. I'm usually the first, person that in a professional sense that the artist I'm working with interacts with, and so usually
Yeah.
they are coming to me, and I do hair too. So, no makeup, hair like fresh out of the shower or just waking up, or
We messed up. We should have
in a very
That would have been a really fun podcast. If we
We
just
should've
showed
just
up
had
in
her
our
do our
like
makeup today.
pajamas. And
Yes.
we're like,
Yeah, right?
hey, you're
Dang
gonna
it.
glam us while
Next
we
Okay,
time.
next time we'll do that.
Dang it.
because there is something intimate.
Carlos,
not only
why didn't you
the
tell us to do that?
like vulnerable, beginning of it,
Yeah.
but I'm touching your face.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm touching your face. It's an energy exchange. I tell people that also. So I'm, 3 inches away from you. You're in a vulnerable state. You're bare, essentially, to me, and you're putting your image in my hand. So there has, of course, intimacy there, but like trust is also there.
For sure.
I never would have thought about any of that, honestly.
Yeah.
Because what we do
such a
in
good
the
point.
coaching space, a lot of the similarities,
Yeah.
right? It's very vulnerable. They have to trust us.
Yeah.
We do get very intimate with them, not only with their voice, but their entire person.
Yeah.
Because they'll, especially as an artist gets comfortable, we'll be one of the people that, like you, that they'll just share the beef with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really
Yeah.
ticked at my manager. This is what's going on. I don't
Right.
know what to do. Or whatever the story is, and so that's fascinating to me because I never quite saw that. So that's cool.
I
Yeah.
love how intentional that is for you, because you recognize that, and I'm sure many people in your field do, but like to be that intentional about something that most people would look at that on the outside and be like, oh, it's like just makeup. It's like kind of like the fake stuff, or the image. It's not as important, but what you're seeing is so much deeper than that.
Yeah, they have to present themselves to the world based on what I'm creating with them.
Right.
And they have to feel good about themselves to perform their best. Like,
Sure.
imagine, someone, and I'm not a big makeup wearer myself. Like, I'll do a lip or, something, but imagine somebody, putting makeup on your face and then you looking in the mirror not feeling like yourself, and then having to go and present your best self to the world
Right.
at that high level,
Yeah.
at the celebrity level. So I do think it's super important, and there is almost like a psychological aspect to it. And I used to want to be a psychologist. I studied psychology for a little, and ironically both my parents have double majors in psychology for their careers. So I think there is that like relational aspect to it, where it's so important to like know who they are, know who they're trying to present themselves as, and then be someone and an energy in that process that they are comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that people don't think about. Nashville's a really small town for what we do. So there are people in Nashville, all over the place, that are known for being more high energy, or like, I've always said like I'm an introvert by nature. And so when I'm doing this, like I'm exchanging energy with somebody, and it's I don't want to say it's like an exhausting thing, but it's something that like is,
it takes something out of you.
Yeah. And so I'm more, I'm not a hype girl makeup artist. Or like some glam teams you'll see like, hey, like, oh my God, fabulous. Like, oh my gosh, you look amazing.
Yeah.
And people
that's why
love
we have
that.
Carlos.
Like there are like some, that's like sometimes people like want their glam team to be that. And there are amazing relationships with like glam teams and artists because of that energy. I can't even fake that energy.
Yeah.
I'm more like, I'll talk to you if you want to talk, or we can just sit here in silence and you can take your calls and drink your coffee or share whatever with me and I'll respond, but I'm not like an in your face like, this lip color is to die for, I'm more just like,
I wouldn't want that. Like, I would need your energy.
Yeah, no,
same. The big energy.
I'm just sitting here thinking, like, anytime I've done anything where I've had makeup artists, you get nervous because you don't know this person.
Yeah.
And you don't know how they're going to make you look.
Exactly.
And one time I did this event, and this artist was definitely the high energy type, but kind of made me look like a 1960s TV show host. It was weird. I did not look like myself.
You could pull that off.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I was just sitting there. I was like, I don't want to go out on the stage because I don't look like myself.
Yeah.
Well,
but like you get nervous.
I'll usually start with like skin, just cleansing, and I kind of do like and this is so I can get to know if it's a new client, or even I do it with every client, but cleansing and then moisturizing. And during this I'm like, okay, like what do you usually wear, like what are you wearing today, how do you want to do your hair, do you want more full coverage today? And I kind of am just like, while I'm doing this, I'm doing gua sha, I'm massaging lotion into their face, I'm like putting caffeine around their eyes.
We gotta do this.
I know.
We're gonna have you back on.
And usually everyone is like,
caffeine on your eyes.
Normal Tuesday of my life.
Everyone's always like, this is so relaxing. And then that kind of like, people will be like, I didn't know I was getting a facial today. And that's such an important part of like my process.
Yeah.
It's just figure out what their vibe is. So I do a lot of grooming because I'm more.
So does I can't.
Carlos is always the butt of the joke.
Carlos gets all my heat.
But I'm more on the natural side. So if I can do full glam, but there are people that are better at doing that than I am. I bring a more natural, soft glam touch to things. So that's kind of like my niche. And because of that, in Nashville especially, I end up doing a lot of grooming with men. So, I will have men who are like, I want, full coverage. Like, or I have guys that are like, I don't want it to look like I have anything on. And typically I won't look, I don't want that either for the men I'm grooming, but sometimes they'll be like, more full coverage, please. And so it just depends.
Yeah. So you said you have, you almost went into psychology and studied that. How did the road turn, and what were you thinking initially that you were going to do? Like, what was the application of psychology, and then how'd you get into glam?
So it's interesting. The glam part, I'm the second youngest of 5 girls.
Oh, wow.
And all my sisters are like pageantry girls and cheerleaders, and they were all in theater
Where'd you grow
singing. Up? So I was born in Chicago, but mostly grew up on a horse farm in Ohio.
Oh, what kind of horses?
All kinds. I was a hunter jumper, so I had.
And this is where the show
ponies.
How have you not discussed horses
yet?
Really? Your
We just never discussed horses. Yeah.
But my mom rode country, so she had a quarter horse, but we had it all. Like, but my sisters and I were like equestrian, like traveled the country.
That's so fun.
Doing horse shows, yeah.
Wow.
But anyways, I was more of the athletic one and not the like cute or pretty one. And so I got really into doing all my sisters' hair and makeup for all of their theater stuff. And I would do it, for their school plays or for their church plays. And I was never in it. I was never the performer. I was always the one that would just like do the hair and makeup. And then all through high school. But I had some like traumatic things happen to me in my upbringing, and I thought, oh, like I'm going to put purpose to all of this, and I want to help people. And so I wanted to study psychology. So when I first went to college, ironically, I actually studied psychology and youth ministry. But it was
What college?
It was in Florida. It was Palm Beach Atlantic
All right,
University.
that was one of the schools that was on my list to go to. I didn't obviously go there, but
Yeah.
Is that where you went, Carlos?
No, I went to
Southeast.
SU.
Southeastern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was on a tennis scholarship there, but I only stayed for a semester. I couldn't handle I felt like it was Groundhog's Day. Like every day it was like the same weather. I was like, oh my gosh, like I need a season change. Like I need something. I need a rainy day to like put on cozies and like watch a movie. Like I cannot do this. So
Did you ever be like, yeah, I live in the Palm?
No. Is that a thing?
No. Circling back to Shelby.
I went to Panama.
I know. I was when you were saying that. I'm like, I mean, for us, you know, people go like Boca.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did actually in college spend
Lots of
a spring
horses
break
down there,
in
too.
Boca with some of my friends. It was beautiful down there, but
It is
I
beautiful.
know what you mean. It's kind of got that same season vibe, kind of like LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you still jumping when you were in college, or you put that away?
That's about when I stopped, because right after my first semester, I ended up transferring up to this art school, Columbia in Chicago. And it was in downtown Chicago, so I had really no access to
That would be
horses.
weird to have your horse downtown Chicago.
My sister right above me took her horse to college, though.
Did she?
Yeah. So I studied arts management in Chicago, and studied makeup and hair in the theater department as like, you know, an elective or whatever. But during that time, I ended up managing, at 19, a salon owned by Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy. And at the time, he was married to Ashley Simpson. And
That's just random in a way, but like
random,
crazy.
yeah.
I was friends with his assistant, and well, at the time I got married really young, and my ex-husband was in the music industry, so he knew a ton of people, and it was just kind of like the crowd that we rolled with in Chicago. So I started managing salon. It was called Clandestine Industries, and he had a clothing line with Nordstrom and all this stuff, and through that I really started doing like more makeup and more hair.
So who was your first big client you worked with?
Well, I did a lot of wardrobe styling back then as well, and I think I had more big clients in wardrobe than hair and makeup for a lot of years. But gosh, I don't know. In Chicago, I did a lot of like fashion shows, fashion events. There wasn't like all the celebrity like culture there was more people filming in town.
Sure. Or Oprah.
Yeah. But I mean, I would do a lot of bands, like a lot of grooming for bands and like signings and stuff that would come through the salon, you know, Pete's people. But I wasn't even thinking of it as anything other than just like the day job. Like I was always like, oh yeah, I freelance, but I GM, like I'm managing this lifestyle brand that he has. And then that ended up, I mean, this is kind of like just random and weird, but it ended up taking me to another company, poached me to manage. Do you guys know what agent provocateur is?
No.
It's like,
That's Jason.
well, it's high-end like
I should go by
luxury.
that. Yeah, I should go by that.
It's high-end luxury lingerie. Like,
Okay.
like the
That's it.
Nailed it.
like the least expensive thong there starts at like $150. Like it was, and this is back in the day when it was Vivienne Westwood's son.
This
who
is why I
started
know
it.
this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was just like designer lingerie. There was only like a few in the world actually. And I had done a lot of like styling and styling assists. So anytime people would come and like do, like I remember Nicole Richie had her clothing line and she did this whole thing at Nordstrom, and I was there as like a dresser and styling, and I just was doing a lot of that, bopping around the city. And then I guess I just became somebody that was known to have a good rapport with celebrities.
Yeah. And that's the key for like networking in general.
It is.
That world is
I think
that.
it was just something where I'm actually really far removed from pop culture. Like, I read a lot. I'm a horse girl. Like, I'm not like a...
Yeah.
When I get booked on someone, I usually have to Google them, and I usually have to go to the Instagram, and I usually have to figure out...
You're like, who are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do research because I don't know how, like, the majority of the time I'm like, oh, what are they famous for? Like,
that actually kind of makes me feel good because I feel the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I'm always like Googling people and like, how do I
same.
not know who this person
People
is?
like drop names, and I'm kind of like, and I'm
like,
making a mental note to be like, I need to go look that person up
And they've
later.
got
I have
like
no idea who you're
15
talking about.
million
Yeah.
followers. I'm
I
like,
know.
I've never heard of you, and 15 million people love you. It's like, yeah.
I just had this big celebrity, and I've known her name. I obviously like know who she is, but I didn't know why. You know, I'm like, why? And then I'm in Boston, and I'm doing her hair a couple months ago. And, you know, we're chatting, and she was doing something at Harvard, and I'm just like, oh, you know, did you go to school? She was very young. And I was like, I hope she's not offended by the fact that I'm asking her, because I actually just, like, I didn't know, you know. I'm like, oh, like, did you study? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Like, you know, have you been to Boston before? She's like, yeah, well, my boyfriend played here. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, but she's somebody who's famous because people know everything about her. Like, she's someone who, younger girl, I mean, she's famous through TikTok, but has done amazing things with her fame. But I left that glam session, like, you know, like, obviously I know her name. I know she's famous, and I hope she, you know, wasn't offended that I didn't know every detail of her life.
Yeah.
And I, you know, sometimes I want to be like, it's because I'm a single mom. Like, I'm not on,
Right.
I'm not hip with it. Especially at a certain, like, age cutoff. I'm like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
But I find that most celebrities enjoy, especially in that context, when you're in their inner realm, even if you're just there for a day.
Yeah.
I think they find something, maybe the word's charming, that this person either one doesn't really know me or doesn't, like, not care to know me, but you know what I'm saying?
Or
Like,
does it treat me different because I'm
yeah, they're just treating me like
a
this
normal
is like
person.
a normal conversation because
Right.
I miss having these when I was 15 in school.
I think a lot of people probably do feel that
Yeah.
way. I'm sure there's, you know, super
Yeah,
what am I trying to say?
narcissistic.
Narcissistic.
Yeah,
Thank you. People who are like, how do you not know me?
Yeah,
you
and
know.
usually you can read that ego
Right,
through that
right,
energy
yeah,
you're picking up on, right? So
Yeah, no, she was great. But, yeah, anyways, one thing just led to another, and this company hired me to manage them because I had only celebrities with, or like people of a certain level of affluence buy underwear of that caliber.
Yeah.
And then that job, I ended up just becoming very close with a lot of people. Then they moved me to New York, and I managed it in New York and Soho. And at that point, then I had a really close relationship with a lot of A-list people because I was seeing them naked every day, like dressing them in their undies.
I didn't know this was a job.
It was a whole thing. Yes, I know. I know. It was like so funny. I would be like
Definitely
watching an
chose their own
award show,
career.
like, oh, I've seen like every single one of them naked this week.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, this is fascinating.
Well,
That and
So
spray
who
tanning.
has the big?
spray tan.
Because I do that too.
How long? When were you in New York?
So I was just there 2010 through 2012.
Okay.
And then my ex-husband was wanting to come to Nashville so he could kind of like get off tour and slow down a little bit. So then we moved here. And that's when I said, look, like, this has been a wild ride. I was kind of just walking through open doors. Like, basically from the moment I moved to Chicago, it was like, I think just because of who I was and, you know, just this people I had met along the way, you know, doors would open.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working hard. I worked full-time all through college, paid my way through college with what I was doing. And in fact, one of the, you know, requirements was for me to have an internship in order to graduate. And I was one of the only students that was able to get that, like, lifted because I had my own interns. So, like, I mean, I was,
That's
like,
a move
busting
right
my
there.
butt.
That's a move.
Yes. I mean, I was in my 20s with employees triple my age. So I I say, yeah, I walked through open doors, but like I was working my butt off.
Right.
To
There's no laziness involved.
No. So what had happened was agent provocateur when I moved here was like, well, should we open a store there? And I was like, I just want to get back to hair and makeup. Like, and I'm going to commit to that for 6 months when I moved to Nashville. And I didn't know anybody here. And I was like, I'm going to give it 6 months. And if I can't make it happen, like I will entertain doing that here. Because I loved it, but it was easy. You know, it just wasn't what like...
Was that your purpose?
Yeah. It was money. It was good money. It was fun. And there was like structure to it. So within a few months, I was doing hair and makeup full time when I got here. So,
how did you know that was what you wanted to return to, and that was where you felt like your mission was, like your purpose was to kind of draw you into that? Because the way you were talking about the intimacy and the intentionality that you treat glam with, it's interesting hearing kind of the story leading up to that was not specifically hair and makeup. It was in wardrobe styling, managing, and all that kind of stuff, which is a little bit of a different field, related, right? Maybe parallel, but how did you know, and how did you kind of turn that corner in there?
I think I am a relationship person. Like I invest in my people. Again, I think, and it might be one of the qualities of being an introvert is like I don't like, you know, I don't have lots of surface level friendships. Like I like to talk to somebody and I like to remember things about them. And if I'm in, you know, a busy room, I will usually be on the like outskirt of it talking to like 1 or 2 people, or we'll like find someone to talk to that's safe or whatever. But and I think some of that goes back to having so many sisters. You know, there were 5 of us. And I think that there's just like a comfort in being with people. You know, we're all running around the house, like doing hair and makeup, like, and, you know, no one's dressed, you know. I think that was just like a natural habitat for me. Like, let's get ready together. Like, let's have glam chats. Like, let's make you feel amazing for the day. Like, let's bring out whatever the best side of you is today. And there's something super fulfilling about that, where like I love being part of helping somebody feel their best. And, you know, sometimes it was dressing, and I kind of stopped doing wardrobe when I became a single mom because there's just so much involved in wardrobe. I have so much respect for styling and stylists because there's like buying, return. I mean, it's a lot of never time. Ending. Like it's so much work. And so for me, it was like, okay, like let's focus in on hair and makeup and then go from there. So that's kind of, I think, why I wanted to get back to it, was just being involved in those moments for people. It's really fulfilling. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the book that you're writing is the Glam Chats
No, the book is called Bad Taste, and it's my post-divorce foray into dating. And it's a collection of short stories.
Lots of tea.
Yes. So, but I think that's one thing with the intimate exchange and doing glam is, you know, being able to have these conversations of like, oh yeah, like, well, that happened to me, or like, you know, there is a lot of talk of, you know, things that are happening in people's relationships and stuff like that. And for better or for worse, I have a lot of perspective on that to give.
I love it. How have you had? I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this question. I want to hear a story from like someone in the chair. You don't have to name a name, but whether it be like an amazing thing that happened or a tragic thing that happened,
or
like,
just a funny
thing that happened, like an inside the makeup chair.
That you're at liberty to share.
I know. I may not be able to tell that.
Right.
I know. I'm like, there's so much stuff because it's daily. You know, like I'm with people every day. I was just with someone that was telling hilarious stories that I can't tell.
Of course.
And it was the first thing that came to my mind because it was like just outrageous. But yeah, I definitely can't say what it was. But it involved parties. Like LA, like Hollywood celebrity parties and behaviors at the parties. And I was just kind of like, we were watching videos and things like that. But yeah, I definitely cannot elaborate more on that.
Well, do you have anyone that you work with consistently, or do you kind of specialize in being like a on the spot special events day person?
I have like a handful of like my regular artists.
Sure.
And depending on...
And just out of curiosity, is that something, and this probably like just depends, but like, is that like do you do like monthly retainers for people like that?
I'm on a day rate. So it's day rate, half day, do and go.
What's do and go?
Where I'm just like showing up, doing the hair and makeup, and I'm leaving. So that's how my rates are.
Is that different than a day rate or a half rate?
Yeah, so you've got the day rate.
So you're there all day, 8 hours.
10 hours. Day rate runs on a 10-hour day. Okay. Yeah, and then you have the half day.
And you have to be there because maybe they're changing clothes, they're changing looks.
Like a music video or, an award show. Or I mean, it just depends. Like,
because you do a lot of award shows.
Yeah, so sometimes if I'm, like I just did an award show and I was with her all day. But sometimes, like when I saw you at the airport after the Grammys.
Oh, right, yeah.
When, for the Grammys this year, I didn't have a performer. I had some nominees. I know. I was like, don't look at me, I'm exhausted. But that was one where I had multiple artists. So I was just kind of like bopping around different hotel rooms throughout the day. So it just depends. So those would be do and goes.
Got it.
And a half day would be something like this. Maybe if an artist was giving a talk or something and they needed me to do the glam and then just stay for touch-ups just to make sure. So it just depends.
Yeah. Do you find that your relationships that come from like when you find a client, when you find an artist to work with, is it usually because you've met part of their team, maybe it's their management, or is it the artist themselves? Referrals from another artist who gives your name to a different artist, that kind of a thing?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I have relationships with management companies, and then, sometimes they'll be like, oh, we have this artist you haven't worked with before. Or they'll be like, hey, we have an artist who is looking, well, the artists themselves might not be looking for a different look, but the management will be like, we're trying to soften this look a little bit. Would you mind like coming in and softening the look? Or, whatever. Sometimes I'll get new artists that have not worked with anyone before. So I have people that are basically, I'm with them, and I'm the only person that's been with them unless I'm unavailable because I've started with them. And then there's people who, are just looking for a different look, or their artist is unavailable, and there's a handful of us, and we're all with different agencies, and we all have different connections, but we like and trust each other.
Yeah.
And we'll send our artists to each other. And, it still will end up going back through our agencies, but it's like, oh, hey, I can't do her, but this person, is great, similar energy, similar vibe, and she can pull off, looks that we create together, and I suggest her.
Yeah.
So it's all of the above.
Yeah.
I've gotten a job through the sauna at Soho House, just sitting there like, oh yeah, oh, I have an artist coming to town.
That's cool.
And then, I'll get a text later in the day that's like, hey, so-and-so gave me your number, DMs.
Yep.
It could be anything. But a lot of what I'm doing right now is like jumping on a flight, flying somewhere for a day, doing glam, and then like flying back.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also own a salon and a bridal company in Cincinnati, in Ohio. Yeah.
Wait, cool. A bridal girl or bridal horse?
Bridal. We do, well, not me anymore, but the salon has like a offshoot. Actually, it started as the bridal company doing hair and makeup on location for weddings. So now that's like international. So we do like all over the country, all over the world.
That's so cool. I didn't realize you did that.
Yeah. Team of stylists there. So I've got, a huge team doing that. And then I have the salon there.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. How long have you been doing that?
So I've owned AV Beauty Bar for 10 years.
Wow.
Incorporated in 2015. And then I've had
You're
the salon
boss.
for 8 years.
How many stylists do you have there?
So the salon is 4 chairs.
Okay.
And then the team of independent contractors, like up to 15. I mean, even more sometimes. It depends. So if we get a referral, you know, in a different state and, you know, I'm going out, like I'll either bring someone with me, but if we're fully booked, you know, I'll have to just like source someone that's like local.
I've always wanted to own, sorry, just real quick. I've always wanted to either own a salon, like boat storage.
Boat storage?
Yeah.
That's not what I was expecting.
But that's just passive income.
Yeah.
All right.
Ice machines.
Yeah.
Also,
Think about it.
Also random.
$2 all day long.
Vending, there's like serious
vending machines.
Passive money in vending machines.
That's what I'm talking
I
about.
know.
Yeah.
And or I just forgot the fourth one.
ATMs. That
No,
one's
that's
to be
probably
a good
one too. Yeah. What was the fourth one? It'll come to me in a minute.
Bar?
But no, it's like that. I mean, obviously the salon. Oh, a car wash. Right. And obviously salons and car wash are a little more like
I'm like,
they're a little more work.
I'm like, it costs a lot to own the salon.
Yeah. But and you know, I have a couple friends in Kentucky that own some salons, and they're like
I kind of want to buy a vending machine now.
You want to buy a vending machine? Yeah, I saw that.
Test the waters.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you go to school ever for hair and makeup?
No.
You just learned on the streets.
So I have almost gone to cosmetology school like 10 times. I have my boutique license, so like I have like training and I'm licensed in certain ways, but I'm not like I don't cut or color. I just don't. Like I know what to do. Like I can trim hair. I'm not going to color somebody's hair. In fact, I was supposed to do a very very big male artist. And sometimes groomers are barbers also. I'm not a barber. I am happy. I mean, I can do a fade. I can, you know, trim hair. I almost always trim up the neckline anyways to make it clean. I almost always trim, you know, if there's, like that to me is part of grooming. Yeah. But like I will not, you know, go in and like full haircut on set. And I actually think that like that's like a separate service, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
But there are a lot of groomers that are doing both. And people love them, and that is why they are like so successful. Like, of course, you can get your haircut and full grooming in one day. That takes out.
That's probably more prominent in like modeling world too, right? Where they're doing cuts for certain shoots.
Well, I mean, and even with that, like I can do that, but like I was meant to fly out for this like person, very, very famous, who has a very, you know, just like a look that they typically have. And I was looking at their Instagram and my agent is like, he needs a haircut. And I'm like, I am looking at what he typically looks like and what he looks like right now. And I am not going to barber him. Like he needs bippity boppity boop. Like he needs a full haircut. Like, and that's something where I'm like, I'm not even going to attempt to. Because that, if it goes wrong, there are going to be 53 million people that follow him that are going to be like, what happened? Who did that to him? And it's going to be me. And I mean, I might have been able to pull it off, but in those situations, I'm like, there's somebody that's more well suited.
You don't
to
need
do
that stress.
But anyways, I studied, I have lots of certifications, just, you know, different like training courses and whatnot, but mostly like began self-taught. My first job, I got at 14 in a salon. I was a receptionist, and then I
worked at a couple hair salons.
Did you?
Yeah, I was a receptionist, in Tallahassee, where I went to school. I worked at a hair salon, just booking appointments, sweeping hair off the floor. And then in Nashville, here in Nashville, I worked at, Fruition.
Oh, yeah, okay.
On Belmont Boulevard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked there for like 6 months before I started. And the only reason is because they were still working on my contract at our mentor's studio where we both coached. And they were still trying to put it all together. So while I twiddled my thumbs around waiting for it, and I just moved from New York to start working, I was like, I'll do it for free. Like, I don't care. I'm just bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
And so I worked there for like 6 months.
So
but I actually worked as a makeup artist in New York.
Okay.
I had no training at all.
Well, New York makeup, it's a different, or at least back then, it's a whole different, like, world. It was, back then, it was like an underground world. Like, we were all just like, bopping around, and
it was like kind of, what is it, on-call contracted freelance.
Yeah, it's all freelance, yeah.
And I had a friend who worked for Clinique, and they were always looking for freelance people for whenever they did like gift with purchase and stuff at department stores. And she was like, it's really half about skincare. You really don't need to know how to do makeup or whatever, but it kind of helps if you don't look like a train wreck. And so I was like, okay. So when I applied and interviewed, they didn't have me do anybody's makeup at all.
Funny.
And but they gave me a little white coat, and I'm telling you, it was the worst job I've ever had. I actually hated it.
That's a fascinating point in that, you know, growing up, that was the big thing. You go with like your mom or your grandma, however you go to the mall, to the counter. Like that's all changed quite a bit. I mean, they're still there, obviously, but
See, I've never done makeup retail, where a lot of the people that do what I do, you know, started at MAC, or you know, and that was
I worked for MAC too,
right? And that was like a thing. And for me, I was always like doing it freelance. Like, my background was theater makeup, which I think was why now I'm very good at natural makeup, because it's more about defining things, you know. Yeah. And a lot of people that are doing makeup now were trained at a counter, or like in a certain way, or even now, like YouTube trained a whole generation of makeup artists.
That's a good point.
And they don't know how to do it differently than how they were taught.
Yeah.
And for me, it was more just,
you just
like,
need Bowen to run your YouTube channel.
Literally, I ask him all the time, I'm like, can you please like do something with this video that I made? Because my phone, there's
hilarious.
so much stuff that I have not posted. Like, I just have
I
like
can
a
only imagine.
People magazine cover, and I haven't even posted that. It was like, I can even say this because it's out now. It's like, you know, Bravo's Sexiest Bachelors or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just sitting on my phone. I'm like, I need to like put this out into the world. That
You should put it out into the world.
Yeah.
Who is Bravo's Sexiest Bachelor?
There was 6.
Well, Shelby, I was waiting to tell you. It's the reason she's here today.
I walked right into that. You know what? You know what you are? You're like the "that's what she said" guy, but for anything that has to do with like making you look great.
I grew up with all these like old school comedians my grandma would listen to, and it's just like
you and Bowen would just hit it right off.
I just wait for the cue to drop it.
Yeah. Well, and I tee you up well.
You do.
So.
It's easy.
So anyway, who's Bravo's Sexiest Bachelor?
Oh, well, I had Carl Radke, Jesse Solomon, and then a Shep. I don't know what Shep's last name is, but
probably aren't many Sheps.
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
Shep
who
is
any of
from
them
Southern
are.
Charm. I had never seen any of the shows, which this was funny. So I had never seen any of the shows, but people love Bravo. I don't watch Bravo.
Oh,
I read
so it's like
books,
reality TV guys?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, I don't watch Bravo.
2 of them were on one of the shows, and one of them was on another.
Okay.
But they were...
Is he the one that owns the pillow store in 12 South? Or it's now more than pillows?
I have no idea.
There's a Bravo guy who owns a pillow
He was
store
on Southern
12 South.
Charm, yeah. Huh?
Oh.
That's a very random sentence.
I mean, all they were... So my room ended up becoming... Because there was multiple glam rooms. And we're like at, you know, a hotel in the Meatpacking District in New York. And my room became the one that they all just decided, everyone was hanging out in my room, which was nice. So they're all just talking about, you know, their shows. And like one of them had been, you know, kind of made to be the villain on his show. And they were just talking about, a couple of them had just gone through breakups and things like that, and talking about dating. And I was sitting there thinking, gosh, like, I thought my dating life, like, it was interesting hearing the perspective from the males. Yeah. And also they're in the public eye, so it's very different. But, like, you know, I'm single in my 30s. I think most of them are, like, late 30s, early 40s. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like, it's interesting also being late 30s, hearing them, you know, talk about dating and all of this stuff from the male perspective. And I even said to them, I was like, guys, I thought my dating life was like chaotic after hearing what you guys are going through. Like, dang. But
they're probably like, thanks for the encouragement.
Well, I think they also thought it was interesting that I had no idea who any of them were. In fact, one of the assistants was like, do you know any of these guys? Like, have you? And I was like, no. I've never seen a single one of their shows.
That's a subtle flex too.
It is.
In a very honest way.
When she looked at me and she said, well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to pick anyone off.
Yeah, but I think you work, as we do, in artist development, right? Because you're helping, especially when
create an image.
Create an image, especially when they're kind of up and coming and don't know yet what that is, and you have to help bring that out of them. And they need, you even kind of mentioned this earlier, like it's important for them to know who they are and how they want to present themselves, because you can't tell them that for them, but they need to, you can help draw it out, you can help kind of create language around that and visuals around that, but not, your job is not to be like so impressed by somebody, but to be authentically secure in yourself, that you don't need to have this, you know, very A-list, high celebrity clientele name for you to feel like fulfilled in your identity. You know, like you're there to do something with purpose for anybody. And while your clientele might always typically be on the higher level, it's not because you're needy of that from a selfish standpoint, but more like, these are the people that come to me because I operate on a high level, but you're drawing that kind of thing out of them. And to be distracted by fame, by notoriety, really can diminish your gifting to them. It can really like get in the way of what you can offer to somebody and bring out the purest thing in them, you know?
Well, that it's so true. Like you can tell, you can't have an ego, like this isn't about me, like I can't have an ego about what I'm doing. It's my job, and it's something that like I feel so grateful to do on anybody, like when my bridal company, if someone adds services and we can't find someone, I go in, no one knows who I am, like I go in and I'll do whatever, you know. I try often to volunteer at like shelters or like homes for women who are coming off the street and being put back into like workforce, teach them how to do makeup, things like that, where it's like, this isn't about like me, you know, being an amazing makeup artist. It's just it's my job that I love.
That's so beautiful.
And that I've worked so hard for. But I will say that you can kind of tell once you get to a certain level of doing it, that the people who are now like my peers, you know, at this level, everyone's that same. Like no one cares who they're doing, what they're doing. You know, it's just it's what we're doing. But you go down like a few levels to like people that are working to get there. And there's ego there, and that's going to prevent them from getting there.
That's so like fascinating and like transparent to be able to see that. You know what I mean? Like it takes, I think, a discerning eye to notice that ego is often what sometimes drives somebody to success. But the people who are truly successful have been able to figure out how to remove ego from the equation, and that's why that they can stay there.
Well, like sometimes ego can
spiritual
thing too.
100%.
That's like, you know, that's got to be self work and all of that.
Do you feel like kind of your initial lean toward psychology helped to purify your motives and see and assess your ego for what it is, so that you were even able to kind of move it out of the way so that you could do what you do on a pure level?
I think it's more I wouldn't say it goes back to psychology. I think it's more of like an integrity thing, and then just as someone who has been through trauma and has been like, I constantly have to look at myself in the mirror and like victim mentality, things like that, where I'm checking myself all of the time. I'm like, dude, like you have everything you need. Like, and of course there's so much I can complain about, but I'm always like, no, like I'm constantly checking myself. And I think that comes back from the way I was raised, and like integrity was like a whole foundation and value in my family. And then just kind of seeing how it plays out when you're not true to that. And I think that ego and integrity are semi hand in hand in a lot of ways, where like if you are like in your ego, you're not like being authentic to yourself. You know,
it's like my therapist, our counselor, he calls it like your false self.
Yeah.
That's helpful, and like ego is not all bad. Like it's actually there to help protect you from things, and it emerges sometimes out of trauma and stuff like that. But like then being able to go a step outside of that so that you can kind of have that bird's eye perspective over who's in the driver's seat right now. Is it my most authentic self or is it my ego?
Yeah.
And when you can do that, you can circle all the way back into your core.
Yeah. Well, and with this, even like in the level of people that I'm working with now, I recently switched agencies, and there was about 2 years where I felt really unfulfilled, and I felt like okay, I'm not growing. Like I'm not growing as an artist. Like I need to grow as an artist, and I was being told that the direction I wanted to go in was not available for me in this city. So coming from New York and, working in LA and New York and Chicago and all over, like I'm, again, more natural hand, softer, a little bit more editorial, like skin focus, things like that. And I, was just like told, mine's been growling too.
Can you hear it? It's been nonstop.
I'd like to know if the mic is picking up.
I've been thinking that
so sorry in the middle of your comment, but it's like,
no.
It's bad today.
I was just wanting to do more with what I can do, and I felt like the work that I was doing here was not allowing me to grow as an artist.
Yeah.
It almost felt like it was the same. Like I had reached a point where like I need to do more with my craft. As a totally creative, I can be doing more.
Yeah.
And that wasn't about, wanting to do, bigger, better, whatever.
Yeah.
It was like, I've reached a point in my career where my work is not evolving.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what does that mean? What do I need to do? What change do I need to make? Like, and so I just started, playing with makeup and like trying different things. And I'm like, no, it's still not true to me. Like trying to do more, doing the more full glam stuff.
Yeah.
And getting really good at it, but not liking it. I'm like, this is not my work. Like, this is not, like, they're not going to feel their best when I'm not creating what I'm the best at doing for them.
Anyways,
Anyways.
It's authentic to you.
Yeah. So I ended up I decided I'm going to go freelance. Like, I'm going to go back to my roots. I'm going to go freelance. And I'm just going to, like, see what happens. And so I was doing that for a little. That's when I was out at the Grammys. But then I ended up signing with another agency. I was meeting with a lot of agencies.
Now, for just a second.
Yeah.
Because I want you to finish the story.
Yeah.
What does an agency look like as a hair and makeup artist?
So basically the same for any creative. I have an agent, and, when there are needs for hair and makeup, I guess they get, put out there, and then everyone basically bids on it essentially.
Yeah.
And I am, along with a lot of other people, presented, and then they choose from
Is
all
it
of
its
us.
own agency industry separate from, for instance, like fashion agency world?
It's all the same, but they're different specialties. So like I'm with an agency, it's like hair, makeup, wardrobe, prop. It's a creative agency, just like a modeling agency.
Yeah.
So it's all the same.
Cool. Okay, carry
And
on.
oftentimes in smaller markets, they'll all be under one house, right? Like, not always, but like,
All being like modeling.
well, I'm just saying,
also.
like, if I were going to Charleston to book a shoot,
Oh yeah, there might be. Yeah.
there might be models, hair,
Yes.
makeup,
Yes.
styling, everything in one
Yes,
agency.
and in fact, that's how Nashville started, and
Right.
now Nashville is different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I was with,
Used to be that way here for sure.
one of those.
I think about modeling agencies. I think about booking agencies for artists. So like hair, makeup, wardrobe is its own agency industry.
It's like creative talent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Artists, yeah. So anyways, I ended up interviewing with a bunch of agencies, and some of them, and I expressed my desire to move to Spain. I'm just like,
that's right. That's how we
trying
started.
to be so
Yes.
aligned with my goals. Like, hey, I know that like my style of doing makeup might not always fit the client in Nashville. And some people will be like, well, we're more Nashville focused. And I'm like, I would like to be working in different markets so that I can see what I can do. I want to see what more I can do.
Which is why you're okay to hop on the planes and come back.
Yeah.
But some of the agencies were like, we're only working here. Or, I said, hey, my goal in the next 3 to 5 years is to move to Spain. And some people are like, why are we talking? But then there was this one agency and they were like,
why are we even talking?
They were like, great, we have offices in London and Paris. It's perfect. You're fine. You can be Barcelona, you can be Paris, all over. Doesn't matter. So that's the agency I ended up signing with. And it's been wonderful because I have been able to grow and do work that I'm super proud of and see what I can do when people trust me to just do what I'm good at doing instead of me having to do what a certain market wants me to do. It's like I'm being hired, chosen out of a lot of people because of what I'm good at versus like, hey, Aries, one of the better, everyone knows Ari in Nashville, hire her, but then I'm being hired to do something that maybe someone else can do better.
Sure. Yeah, true. So. What would be one bit of advice that you would give for someone out there listening that wants to get into your field? Like, but what would, what's an initial, like, start here or
I have a lot of people reach out to me about this a lot, especially owning a salon and owning a bridal company. Like I have employees and staff, so I get people like, hey, what does it take? And I'm like, show me some of your work, whatever. And because of this YouTube generation and social media generation, so I will get photos and photos and photos of themselves, of the makeup that they've done on themselves. And I'm like, I want to see photos and photos and photos of other faces that you've done. And I want to see, your consistent style. I mean, obviously it's good to be able to do lots of different things, but like, I always am like encouraging, like, what are you good at? Like, stay there. You don't have to be good at like everything. Like
be able to show your consistent niche on a diverse playing field.
Because if someone comes
faces.
to me and is like, hey, I saw that you guys do a more, unstructured hair look, like, someone that wants their hair and makeup done for their wedding and they want to look natural and they want their hair to look like effortlessly kind of undone. I'm like, perfect, I've got stylists for you that align with what you want. And or someone will be like, oh, I want to have like a winged eyeliner and a more like glam look. It's like, great, I've got that for you. But if you're an artist that's like trying to like do it all, like, find your specialty, find what you're really good at, train in that, do it over and over and over again with lots of different products. I think it's super
good gosh, his
stomach strikes again.
I think it's super important also just to continue to grow. Like, there's an artist
I'm so sorry.
No.
Carrie, you got my gut.
No, you're fine. Mine literally was doing it as well.
My gut reaction to everything you're saying today has just been nonstop.
But it's just like everything. You have to continue to do it. And you have to invest in your products, your brushes, your kit. You have to take care of it. You have to, you just have to keep doing it. Like, even if I'm not booked for a week, who wants to come over? Like, I've got this, I got
Call
PR
practice.
Like, I have PR that I want to play with. Like, I get so excited when I get PR. I'm like, yee, like, goodies, like, I want to play. Like, who wants to come over? Like, I want to try this new product. And, this is fun for me. I want to see if I can use it. And let me help this brand that sent this to me. Like, what can I do with this? But... find what you're really good at. Learn how to do other things. That's super important. But, like, don't try to be doing exactly what that person's doing.
Right.
Because then you're losing, And that happened to me here for a little while in Nashville was, do this, do this, do this. And I'm like, okay, but, like, she can do it better. And then I can do that other thing better.
That you like more anyway.
Yeah.
This is a random side question just out of nowhere, but do you know who came up with the trend over the past, year for like teenage guys who just floof their hair? Because if I see one more kid do it at the gym, I'm going to throw the weight through the glass. What is that?
You're going to die because I have to help my son with that. Well, first we called it llama hair because
alpaca, llama.
My son,
there's memes out there.
He has so much hair, but it's just like stick straight. And so I had to buy this little tiny like pencil-sized straightener, and I would put these like little curls and like make it, and he felt like he was on top of the world. I love it. But now it's fluffy hair.
So what makes it fluff like that?
Well, now we're not curling it with the thing. I have a tiny little round brush. Right, which is what I was doing. So now I have this tiny little round brush, and I put mousse in his hair, and then I round brush it with a dryer, and it's just like, and then I go in with like a dry shampoo paste, which like fluffs it up even more. He looks ridiculous, and this morning we did it right before. He's like, "Mom, we can be fluffy hair for baseball camp," and I was like, "Okay." And he said,
fluffy hair for baseball camp.
One of the counselors has it, and he's a pitcher, and he can throw like 89. And I was like, "Sure." I said, "But you're going to start to YouTube. Run, and you're gonna sweat it down."
Yeah.
And he was like, "But I want fluffy hair." And so I give him this fluffy hair, and he's in the mirror like.
No, seriously, at the gym, all of them will go. When I go in the afternoon, they'll just be sitting there and they just fluff all day, all throughout the workout.
I hate it.
It's so ridiculous.
It starts this young. It's very big in middle school. So my daughter's middle school, when I pick her up from school, I'm just like, oh my gosh, looking at everybody's hair, all the boys.
For him, at like 7, I noticed he became self-aware, like his image. So it's always just me and him because single mom life, but. He became more concerned about like, I used to always just post photos of us doing everything. And at like mid-7s, he was like, don't post that. Like, don't take a picture. Like, I don't, let me see it. Like, no, don't post it. And I was like, what? And then last year, it became more like how he looked, like, I want my hair to look, why did they look like that? And I don't look like that. Like, can we do my hair look like that? Because like, you don't have curly hair, buddy. And he was like, well, I want to look like that. Right. So that's when I was like, okay.
Dang, but he's got built-in best right there.
But even now,
he just like goes to the source.
I know, right?
I need to do content about that. Like I have to groom my kid every morning. Like give him the hair he wants.
If he's like okay with you posting it, right? If he's going to be now, is it different now?
The funny thing about that is that people were like, well, where's Bowen been? Like, people think I'm having this like fabulous life and career, and I do. But when I am not working, I am literally momming all in.
I totally get it.
I don't have shared custody. It's just me and him. But because he wasn't present on my social, people are like, Mary cares more about her career. Where's her son? Da, da, da. And I'm like, literally, still right here, just opinionated about his presence out into the world. Yeah. Like, he doesn't want to be. But then sometimes, like, I'll take a picture and he's like, let me put that out there. I'm like, okay.
He's like, I like that one. That one you can put
okay.
Put that out there. We're going to call this podcast Fluffy Hair at Baseball Camp.
That's clickbaity.
Before we wrap it up today, we still have to hear why Spain.
That's
how we started. Let's cap it with that.
Love Spain. I think the way of life, the quality of life, the quality of food, just the way of living in, like here, it's just so career.
It's incessant.
People, how are you? What have you been doing? I'm just like working, and I'm guilty of it. I do the same thing. But the cost of living there is reflective of the way that they live, which is to enjoy life. And people go to work and like everybody does, but then people also have very vibrant personal lives and home lives, and I do feel like it's very family focused and oriented. And I have not had that. I've had a very hard time doing life in a community with my son. So I find myself alone a lot with him, which I love. But when I was over there, and I mean, I've been everywhere. I would say the same, for Dubai, but I don't want to move there, where the kids are with their families, like out all hours. again, not saying I want to be out all hours, but there is not
it's an integrated
yes, it
sort
is.
of lifestyle.
It's family, community, culture, and we just don't have that type of lifestyle
We
here.
don't. You'll see it at, here you'll see people walking at the park or with kids at the park, but that's certain hours of the day.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't just typically, I know what you're saying, because when I was there, now that you say that, that stood out to me. One of the first things that, maybe the third night in, it was maybe a fourth, fifth night, I was in Sevilla, and it was like
Sevilla.
dinner. Have you been?
in high school.
Dinner at 11 and there's kids.
But it was my
Yeah,
like,
dinner
one
at
of my
11, there's
favorite
like all
cities.
these kids, there's
Yeah.
babies and strollers,
Yeah.
and we're like, what is
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
But it makes sense. And that is one thing I did notice from being there right away, was there were just people and families everywhere, all times of the
Yes,
day, just
yeah.
walking casually, strolling,
Yeah.
living. We don't do that.
You're not trying to separate. Like here, my friends are like, hey, like we're going to do this, and I literally have to look it up to see if I can bring my kid because
Oh, for sure.
like
Well, totally.
I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I can't, like Bowen, and it's just everything that
Well,
you
and
can
they're-
do. You can do
with the
your
family.
Yeah.
Well, and the restaurant culture there is built around that too, where it's like,
Yes.
here I've got to take out a loan to go to dinner every
Truly.
night, and I
Yes.
can only go by myself.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
so true, and that's across the country.
I got dinner the other night with a galpa who is also a single mom, and she's like, oh, well, I'm on a budget, so I'm only eating. And I was like, I'm on a budget, so I'm only drinking. And I think she was hoping to share food with me, and I, was hoping to get a bottle of wine, but so I got a glass of
Yeah.
wine, and she got an app because...
I just need to get a budget, because I just go ham every
You do
time.
go ham.
Well, I would have
Yeah.
gone ham, but because
But-
she said it, I was like, I can't.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's really
And she
crazy.
was also a single mom, and that was the thing where it's like, we could have brought our kids to this, but we don't
Yeah.
think like that because it's not part of this culture.
Right.
no,
you
and
know.
then, depending on where you went, people would look at you like,
Yeah, like she's got
They
a
got
kid.
kids.
Do you remember that line from Sweet Home Alabama where she goes,
Got a
"You have a
baby in the
baby in a bar."
Yeah.
so do you know the spot you would move to in Spain yet?
I don't, but not one of the big cities.
Yeah, for sure.
I would need to be semi-close to an airport because, I'll be flying
Flying
Ryanair
in and
all
out.
over Europe.
Yeah.
Which, P.S., is a whole nother reason it's cheaper to hop on a flight and go to another country in Europe than it is to get an Uber from my house to the airport here.
That is absolutely
You can
fact.
take
Those are
you can take a
facts.
$19
Those are
like
facts.
39 euro. Yes, and I was
That's
doing
wild.
that. I worked in Europe for a month last
Yeah.
year, and I had my kit and everything, and I was just working all over Europe.
Yeah, if you can just
Wow.
walk on with a bag, you can fly
It's
real
like
cheap.
train culture, but it's airplanes.
Yeah.
Dang. That's
Yeah.
wild.
They charge you. They love
charge
it
for
for
the-
Americans.
Let's all go to Europe.
because,
Yeah.
the Americans
we're
will
gonna
come
do.
in with their 4 big suitcases, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden they got a $600 bill to go
Yeah.
with this
Oh
$30
my gosh.
ticket.
Yeah.
But,
But yeah, no,
coastal Mediterranean coast. Not specific yet about what town. I'm
Sure.
going to be there at the end of August for
Oh, fun.
a job in Barcelona. So I'm hoping to kind of pop around and check a couple
Yeah.
different places out.
Cool.
But I guess the only thing would be relatively close to an airport so that
Yeah.
I can, because I wouldn't be living in a city that I would plan to work in a lot. Because I want more of a quiet home life. But I am hoping to expand my brand to have an education aspect to it.
love it.
And in Europe, there is no cosmetology, or in Spain specifically, there is no cosmetology sort of like,
Requirement license.
right, but
I love it.
I want to create like an educational,
Oh, neat.
program that I can have as part of what I'm doing over
You'll
there.
have to
Love
go
that.
down to Marbella.
Oh, yeah.
And my YouTube manager lives there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
He's Norwegian, but he upped and moved to Spain during COVID.
It's, I mean, if I should have done it years ago, and so now it's just, and my son knows too. He's doing Duolingo for Spanish. And so he's
yeah.
like, we're moving to Spain.
That's so
So
cool.
sweet,
yeah.
Well, I love this for you.
I know.
love this
Same.
little
It's such a
podcast
beautiful
today.
conversation all around.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? If we want to see, when you eventually drop your Bravo Sexiest Man
Hopefully I
Whatever
do
it
that later
was.
today.
post, where can we
Oh my
find you?
gosh, it's just like one other job keeps happening, and I'm like, so my Instagram is Ariane VR, so ARIANEVR, but I also have Ari Does Glam, and that's like all glam. The other
Both
one
on Instagram.
Yeah, and then my company is AV Beauty Bar. That one's going too.
Can we tag all that in our comments?
Have it out there.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here today. This was amazing.
So much.
I do think we should do, if you're open to it, at some point we should do a little like.
Yes, let's groom and glam.
That would be such a fun podcast. We've never done anything like that.
Bowen.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to
That'd be
have
amazing.
Bowen, voiceover my glam.
Oh my gosh, you have to.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
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 But you know, I'd be totally down to do that.
Yeah,
Oh my
we should
gosh.
definitely do that. I love
Sign
that.
me
You
up.
guys would have to bring like photos of like inspo.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
That sounds like a fun day.
That would be a fun day. And then we'll get
Yeah.
a little segment with Bowen too, because this kid's something else.
He is. Truly.
Great. I can bring my 9-year-old. They can play
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, thanks for being here today.
Thanks
It's
for
always
having
awesome
me.
to see you.
Thanks,
And until next time.
Perfect.
There it was.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vocal Lab podcast. Ready to join the top ranks of the music industry? Don't forget to follow and subscribe for more first-class conversations that make the extraordinary your new ordinary. Until next time, keep striving for your top note.